Florida at SGT Firebags. That's Sergeant Firebags, SGTFirebags.com. If you're in the market for a washable radio strap or a clean gear bag to protect you from the carcinogens out there, reduce that risk of cancer exposure, guess what? SGT Firebags has you covered. Use CanMan for 10% off. And my brother Herb Tyler from NRC, or National Rescue Consultants. If you're looking to get USAR educated from some of the best out there, go check out my brother Herb Tyler at NRC.com. That's National Rescue Consultants.
Hey, Canners, it's time for 30 minutes of unadulterated and uncensored shenanigans. Get ready to call HR because you're going to need sensitivity training after this. Gear up because it's going to hurt worse than RIT training in July. Welcome to the Can Man Radio Show with your host, Jason Liska.
Welcome back to another great episode of the Can Man Radio Show. Tonight is just a special episode all the way around. I've got some really awesome people that have been wanting to line up and talk, and one of them is going to be introduced here in just a moment. But before I go any further, there's something I got to share with you. If you're hearing something different, well, it's because I got some great new equipment, and I went to bsw.com, and I got to throw them a shameless plug, and my good friend Jamie Singer, who set me up with this Rodecaster Pro and these awesome microphones so I could sit here and give you some of the best content in the best quality possible. So if you're looking for some awesome podcasting gear, you're looking to maybe start putting a brand out there yourself, go to bsw.com, go check out my friend Jamie Singer. So I guess it's kind of important now that we talk about our guest here, who's been a friend of mine for close to 2 decades at this point. You know, we kind of came up in the fire service together, and, you know, we kind of worked in radio at different points in our lives together, but not directly. And now he's working up in Washington, D.C., and I want to take a moment and welcome my good friend Mark Treglio to the show. So good evening, my brother.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad finally to get an opportunity to be on the Great Can Man Show.
Oh, man, you humble me. I swear. I you know, you do some quality work. And let me tell you something. The work you do up in Washington, I'm going to be honest with you, it's inspired me to do a lot of what I do today. And, you know, it's kind of funny. You've been an inspiration to me back and forth throughout the course of my life and our friendship. And I know you said the same, but I want to thank you for helping me, you know, relive my youth in a sense, and being an inspiration to get back to this microphone and actually start sharing some thoughts and perspectives out there.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate it. I've had a good, lucky run, you know, for the last couple of years, and you get to the places like that because of the people that help you get there. You know, I remember just as 2 young punks on the floor at a Florida convention, you know, and
yes, we
run around causing mischief. But you know what? It's because, you know, back when I was doing things in Jacksonville and Florida, and I had support from guys like you, and that's what got me up to DC. And, you know, we're able to do great things in DC now because of the team we have. It's never just a one-man show.
I'll tell you something. I've had the privilege of sitting in on some of these nationwide conference calls. I mean, from Maine to Hawaii, you've had some great leaders on that have all lent some interesting perspective to what's coming and potentially what's going to happen after COVID. But, you know, speaking of that in a moment, I really want to just digest who you are, you know, and just share with who you are so people get a better understanding of who Mark Treglio is and his background.
Wow, it goes way back a couple of years now. I was born in New York City.
And you're a Yankees fan, by the way.
It's all that matters, buddy. It's all that matters.
Mm.
So I grew up in a small town outside New York City called Haverstraw, New York, in Rockland County. Probably 45-minute drive north, you know, with traffic and everything. But went to high school out there, North Rockland High School. But that's where I got my taste of the fire service. I was actually a music education major coming out of high school, and didn't get a chance to go. So I was piddling around town and joined the local fire company, Relief Hose Company number 3. And I'll tell you what, man, they were really great to me. They took me under their wing. I learned a lot, you know, got to fight some fire up there, and really decided in 1995 or 96 in that area that I was going to go, New York City wasn't hiring. They were in a bit of a hiring freeze at that point.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting on the list. let me go to Florida for 2 weeks. I'll go down there for a couple weeks and see things. I had a buddy of mine, he's my brother-in-law now, and he was on the John F. Kennedy in the Navy, and they were assigned to Mayport. So he's like, "Hey, come to Jacksonville. We'll get an
Yeah.
apartment and we'll hang for a little bit." Well, I got down there, I found the beach and found the girls at the beach, and next thing you know, 20 years later,
You're
I was
back in
still there.
Maryland.
Yeah. So no, I got real fortunate to be hired on the Jacksonville Fire Rescue.
A great
I
fire
did
department.
16 years there, and yes, 16 years there. Made lieutenant. Had the got a phone call in 2013 from the general president, Harold Shapeberger, the IFF, once in a lifetime opportunity to come up and build a department, strategic campaigns, really just assisting firefighters in the field, fighting back against budget cuts and attacks on their pay and benefits and everything. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So I retired early and
That you did.
moved the family up to DC. It's it was in retrospect, it was a lot harder on my family than it was me, but we did it, and I've had the pleasure of building out the strategic campaigns department, and then got promoted, and now I'm the assistant to the general president for the communications division. It's been a bit of a crazy ride, but I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Well, there was a lot leading up to that, that moment where you were given the nod, the tap to go to Washington. And, Florida, just like every other state across the country, was affected by the recession economy and the downward spiral and the different attacks on pensions across this nation. And, Florida was no stranger to that. I mean, we faced a lot of pension reform. We faced a lot of issues with hiring freezes in some of the biggest departments across this country. And, you put in a tireless effort with the FPF to help lead a campaign against, tyrannical government in a sense, and, politicians who are anti-labor. And I'll tell you, that's probably where you got your nod from. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, you're no stranger to the fight.
No, not at all. It seems like that's all we do every day is fight. It's just a different city, a different place, and it's the same. And it doesn't matter the political party. We get so divided on politics on some things. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's we got to stick together as one team and fight, because it's the same fight in every city. Just the names are different.
No, that's the damn truth. If anything's been said that could be any truer, you tell me, because we've watched it unfold. And, we're in a new battle now. And we're just on the forefront of this battle in a sense, because we haven't even gotten to the aftermath yet. We're in an economy that's essentially spiraling into a recession, potential depression, all thanks to a wonderful and infiltrative disease called Corona and COVID-19. And, it's not just affected our nation, it's the worldwide platform. But talking more specifically to our profession, which I think we need to really focus on, is more or less where are we at now? I mean, looking at the IFF's website, the numbers are still up there and climbing daily. So what are we looking at as far as stats for COVID-19 in the fire service in the United States and Canada?
So right now we've had about 4,200 members quarantined across the IFF, just based on those returning from our survey. We've had about 10,500 exposed. Unfortunately, we've lost 6 brothers. That doesn't include, the ones that we're losing, the FDNY EMS and some of the others out there. I mean, strictly just members. We're at 6 right now, and
Yeah.
that's 6 too many.
Oh, the 6
So,
too many and way too many ill. I
mhm.
mean, I feel like we were really caught off guard with this one, worse than anything I've ever seen, any of us have ever seen. I mean, we've lived through several pandemics when you think about it: Ebola, the AIDS pandemic, moving into the flu, the SARS, MERS, you name it, H1N1, the avian flu. Then all of a sudden, here comes this one bug, and it's wreaked its havoc across the nation. And see, this is what scares me. As the numbers climb nationwide with just citizens and these poor citizens suffering, our numbers are climbing daily, as you indicated, with regards to our profession. And, one of the things I've noticed, and you see the cry for help, Chief Gary Ludwig, who's the president of the IFC, he's teamed up with the IFF and several other public safety organizations. And I know they're out there looking for, support, but what are we looking at as far as PPE and the response from the federal government?
Well, that's a good question there, Jason. Because right now, PPE is running real low for a lot of people. Uh, in some places, they get down to, hey, we have 2 to 3 days left of supplies, and then a supply comes in and it's good. We talking to Miami Dade. they had a situation where they had a cache of supplies and it got raided and taken
By the
for
feds.
other areas. Yeah.
They had 1 million
And
masks taken from their supply by the feds.
absolutely. And you'll see the chief in Phoenix. She's been pretty vocal about being out there about, hey, we're trying to get our stuff and it's not happening. There's lots of the places out there where, they're fighting for equipment every day. And to be honest, it's just not there. I've been on the phone with 3M a couple times over the last couple of weeks and just trying to figure out how to get in the pipeline. I don't even want a handout. How do you get in the pipeline to buy this stuff? And it's not there. And you'll see stories of where, hey, these people got masks and they have PPE, but a lot of times it's not going to meet the standards that our health and safety team sets in terms of protection against this virus. I mean, yeah, it's great to have a mask, but some of them are just as good. I might as well just take a sock and wrap it around my mouth.
And
It's
it's scary because you see the people out there wearing the surgical masks, and most departments now, and mine included, were wearing the N95 to every call, and if it's a COVID related call that meets the isolation precautions. Not only are we gowning up, but we're also throwing a surgical mask over that PPE as well, that N95, because we only have so many, and there's so little opportunity to accumulate or acquire. It's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. But yet here we are, the Feds saying we need to get first responders taken care of. And yet the story today that I read, just like you, Miami-Dade, 1 million masks taken by the Fed. For what? Where did they go? What was more important than taking care of the frontline first responders?
if I had to guess, I don't really know where they went. Otherwise, I'd be in a good spot. But I don't know where they went. But I would venture to think we're in a situation where we're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Unfortunately.
Say, well, we can't. We said we're going to deliver on these masks. They didn't say where they were going to get them from.
Oh, no.
So they're just going from one place to another. I really think, as I think as we're moving forward, they'll find a little bit better balance on the PPE and hopefully get our firefighters out there what they need. I think in the meantime, is the best thing that we have at our disposal is, having a sense of awareness, knowing where you're going, knowing what you're getting into, and even paying attention when it's not, the symptoms aren't there or the call doesn't describe a COVID call. We had a call out in New Rochelle where it was a gas leak. Guys bunker out to go in a house, figure out what's wrong, and they realize they're already in the house with no protection, and the family's already infected.
Yep. Yep.
So it's just a matter of, you know, these guys are good at what we're doing. Firefighters are good at what they do. It's just a matter of okay, let's apply this thought over here. Let's be a little bit safer. And maybe we're not charging it at 100 miles an hour. Maybe we'll do 90 miles an hour, but just take a look real quick and see what's going on.
Most definitely. We mentioned earlier the IFC jumping in with the IAFF, and I've read all the letters that are joint processes between the IFC, the IAFF, and who are the other agencies that the IAFF is aligning with right now to try to get this PPE stuff squared away?
So we're talking with the Metro Chiefs, NIOSH, our health and safety teams on the phone on a regular basis with the CDC, and we're also up on Capitol Hill. We have our legislative team doing everything they can, lobbying on Capitol Hill to make sure that firefighters are given that priority status when it comes to PPE and other necessities that they need to do their job.
Oh, and see, that's the voice we need. We need people out there fighting the good fight for us. And it's a blessing that these agencies are aligning. And it's always in a time of crisis, you tend to see the differing agencies from labor to management jumping in because each is equally affected, if not more, by this. And COVID is no different than any other pandemic we've faced in our lifetime. But, as we transition away from COVID, and it seems like, states are starting to gear up for reopening. You're looking at the economy slowly returning here, hopefully, but it could be several months in some states. I mean, in Florida, there's talk that Disney could be closed throughout the rest of the year, which give them time to essentially organize and rebrand or refurb the park in some areas. But they're losing money in a sense still, and that's going to impact our economy. I mean, think about all of the areas. We are a robust economy, the greatest in the nation, yet we're going to see problems from this. And so now, are we looking at a repeat of the recession of 2008 or something worse, do you think?
I think we're on. I think we're on the way to a little bit of a dip in the economy. I mean,
Okay.
and not on the way. A couple of weeks ago, our health and safety team has been just totally kick ass about this whole COVID stuff, and They were like, "You want to help?" I'm like, "Yeah." They said, "Get out of the way." So I was like, "Okay." And I started to just really start thinking about what is going to happen when all this is done and who's banging that drum right now. So I just really started thinking about, in 2008, how many of our firefighters out there really took a hard hit in pay cuts and attacks on pensions. I know in my home city, Jacksonville, we had a 9-year battle over pensions.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so how do we avoid that again? I sort of looked at it as, if we're not prepared this time, that's on me this time. So we started a couple weeks ago, just giving online tutorials, holding webinars and hangouts online, just saying, hey, look, this stuff is coming. You need to be prepared. You need to be prepared for when the city looks at you and says, well, we're gonna have to make some cuts.
That's
Or,
where it always starts, right?
your pensions, yeah, well, we don't know if we can make that pension payment, or we might have to up the health insurance. Yeah, they're going to take this opportunity to try and take a swipe at what you have and your ability to provide for your families
And
in this environment.
and what's scarier is that listening to some of the brothers from Baltimore to California, Sacramento, Oakland, those areas, they're already starting to feel that. They're already starting to talk about cuts. And from what I understand, we're looking at departments even talking about doing layoffs and furloughs, which, we're not even out of the COVID disaster yet. And here we are prepping for firing people at this point and slashing benefits.
Oh yeah, no, that's I kept saying we need a plan. We need to plan for the post COVID-19 economy. Well, I got news for you. It's here. There's committees are meeting on budgets, and people are starting to realize how much all of this is costing. It's easy to scream for money and do we need to do all this stuff in the heat of the battle of everything, but then the bill comes due,
Yeah.
and everybody loves firefighters. They're out there doing their thing, but now it's time. The bill's due. They're going to try and take it out on our backs, and we're going to do everything we can to stop that.
I mean, my humble opinion, I think we're looking at a moment in time that could be scarier than the housing market collapse of 2008 and the banking corruption. We've shut down industry. I mean, at one point I was saying, positive because, hey, look, Amazon's hiring 100,000 people. Walmart's looking to hire 8,000 drivers. The supply chain is still strong, and now here we are sitting here 2 months later. Farmers, agriculture, you're looking at grocery chains that can't take food in anymore because, well, the farmers are overstocked as well. They can't dispose of the food. The supply chain is starting to crumble just a little, which is scary because that's going to cripple our economy even further. You're looking at some of the other avenues that are affecting us too. And it comes down to where does it start for us, and we have to be cognizant of that, and we have to be prepared. And you hold these you hold these seminars, and the people I've seen on them, they come from all walks of life, whether they're union presidents, state presidents, secretary treasurers. You've got people from the IFF engaged. How can people become more engaged with this process so we can start spreading the word and getting the education out there and getting these unions or these fire departments better prepared for what's to come?
I think it's the key thing is to get involved. It's from a union perspective, it's one thing to just pay the dues, but it's another to get involved. Get involved, be knowledgeable. Even if your point of involvement is just reading the newsletter that your union sends out, or if or your fire department, what your fire chief is fighting for you on the front lines, and you want to do to help, at least read the information that's coming out, educate yourself on what's going on.
And
You
what do you
know,
think about branding? We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I see fire departments all across the country going out and engaging with local business and putting that content out there on social media and supporting their community, which I think is a phenomenal message. It's the right message to send, even in a time of crisis. That's invaluable when you think about it. That's priceless content for the greater good in the grand scheme of things, is it not?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you how proud I am right now. So one of the first things I did when I came to headquarters was I created what's now known as the IFS Communications Training Academy.
Hmm.
We take 1 week and we bring 50 firefighters in from all over the country, United States and Canada, and we lock them down for a week and teach them how to make videos on their iPhones. We teach them how to edit the video, all the different shots to make in video. We teach them branding. We teach them strategic planning, communications planning, and digital ad targeting through Google and Facebook.
It's
So,
amazing.
it's all about establishing yourselves as the experts in public safety in your community.
Well, considering that social media was brand new to us back in 2008 through roughly, 2012, 13, it's even
Mhm.
grown further since then. Would you say we're a lot further ahead with regards to our connectivity and our, at least our digital connection to social media, knowing what it is now and understanding what its potentials are and not worried about its
Mhm.
limitations?
Oh, we're light years ahead. We're light years ahead of where we were at the start of the last recession
I mean,
in,
some
in
of the,
terms of branding and
yeah.
communicating and getting out there. And more importantly, okay, you're not as good at social media as some of the people in your department, but understand that there's still a physical value of doing those appearances at school. You know what you're doing when you're in the store buying groceries. People are looking at you, and I always tell people in our classes, and you've heard them before. The fire truck is still the one piece of equipment that grown
Mhm.
adults just stop and look at all the time. That's your brand. All of that, the fire station visits when the kids come to visit. So it's not just about social media, it's about all the different things that encompass leaving that mark on your community, that you're the public safety authority and that they really need you.
And I'll tell you something, the community is definitely reaching out, and I've seen it across the country as well, where people are showing up to the stations across their cities, their counties, their municipalities, and they're bringing them masks, they're bringing them food, they're supporting the firefighters. I mean, there is support out there. I think they understand, when they see the reality of the first responders that are losing their lives to this disease, not just being incapacitated by the disease process itself, it's hitting close to home because if you take us out, who are you going to have in the front line of the community? It's again, it's another humbling aspect of the community and the pride that we have. And one of the things we got to do yesterday, and I've seen it across the internet, is being able to participate in one of those parades for someone's special event. And I thought that was great. We were able to shoot down the street to one of our neighbors who was celebrating his 70th birthday. And we rolled up and he asked us to stop, and I rolled down the window. He said, "Listen, man," he said, "it's because of you guys that we're here today." And I said, "Listen, no, it's because of you that we're here today." And the pride that you could see in his eyes, the support from him and vice versa, those are the moments that we're going to reflect on after this disease process, starts to decline and we start seeing the good and the bad in the recovery of the economy. I think those are the moments that are going to help carry us, is the engagement and the connection with the community, because there's nothing more important to service than being engaged with the people you serve.
Yeah. You have everything at your disposal, and you have your community. And the people that are going to be coming to take are and cut the fire department and cut firefighters, uh, they're going to have a ton of money to control message and everything. But if you have the community and you've taken the time to really embrace the community and let them embrace you, you're going to be okay. Community supports everything. It's being able to have people that you can call on that can answer your call to action.
Most
Come to the
definitely.
city council meeting, call your city council people, email the mayor today. All of that stuff comes because you brand yourself, like you talked about. You talk about branding. It's the most important thing, and it doesn't make a difference if you're on a paid department, you're the chief, you're a volunteer, you're the new guy. Everything's about brand. It's
And
always about brand.
all of our responders, volunteer, paid, it doesn't matter. The label doesn't exist when it comes to the term firefighting. And anybody who still carries that stigma, you're out there protecting your community, right, wrong, or indifferent. You're doing something important and valuable, and it needs to be considered a sacred commitment, something sacred to the service, to the community, to the people around you. And, that's why I value, all the time I've spent in the fire service growing up like you, from a volunteer background to a professional background. There's nothing greater than knowing where you came from and where you're at today and what you've been able to accomplish. Transitioning into this, when we push forward, once we close this process out, there's going to be a need or a cry for help from firefighters out there. And I know there's resources, we've already discussed them, that are currently available for firefighters to latch
Mhm.
onto, to get engaged with. But what are we looking at potentially here as far as resources out there that could be coming up down the road for firefighters to utilize as tools for, I guess, the toolbox, so to say?
Yeah, there's some federal programs out there for relief grants. Grants will be a big part of it, depending on how much they want to fund. The safer grants that are out there for fire departments that are looking at cuts possibly, or not hiring people as people retire. One thing, if your fire department's on a grant already, you have to think about how are you gonna, how's the department gonna cope when the grant runs out? What are we gonna do with the firefighters on the grant? Start thinking about things like that. On our end, on the IFF side of things, we're in the process right now for our members of designing a toolkit, much like the one we have now for COVID-19. But this one is really a resource for finance, politics. Even getting down into the finances for the personal firefighter. What are we doing when our spouse is laid off and can't work, or God forbid, we can't work a second job to make ends meet.
Oh, trust me, I've
That's the
seen it.
case in a lot of places.
Teaching
And
has become non-existent.
yeah,
Several spouses are not able to go to work because they're office workers and or work in medical, doctors' offices, and unfortunately, they can't go to work because they've shut them down. They're not considered like dental offices. They're not considered essential. It's scary. Teachers, I mean, most of them are able to work from home, and I see that that's a benefit to be able to do online education. But I digress. I interrupted you. I apologize. Continue what you were last saying. Finish that one up.
no, no, that's good. No, so we're working on a toolkit, and we have 130 to 140 employees at IFF headquarters. All of them are working from home right now.
Yeah.
All of them doing a tremendous job. If you follow that COVID-19 toolkit that we have, you'll see it's updated daily. If not, not if 3 to 4 times a day, it's being updated. We got a tremendous staff up there just kicking ass.
Well,
And now we're getting ready to unload another toolkit out there that really focuses on, adapting to this new economy and doing everything you can to keep all the trucks on the street, make sure they're all fully staffed with what they need to be staffed with, no 2-man ladders, and crap like that. But, just really trying to get through this period right now. We're getting a lot of calls from a lot of cities out there saying, hey, we're facing cuts. What do we need to do? And we're going to respond, and we're going to do the best we can.
Well, you know what? It warms my heart, and it brings great pride to know that the organization I've been a proud member of for the past 23 years is stepping up as always to lead the charge to help protect the firefighters. And it truly is a national battle at this point, an international battle when you consider our brothers and sisters up in Canada. Brother, I got to thank you. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show this evening. It's been an absolute honor, and you're going to come back and we're going to continue this dialogue because knowledge is power. And having resources and friendships and people who are at the front lines of making things better for us is what makes a difference for everyone else. So, Mark, thank you. Thank you for the work you do with the IFF. Thank you for being engaged with every firefighter in this country and holding your seminars. Do me a favor, throw out the IFF website for us and the COVID tracker so they can go ahead and research that information daily.
It's IAFF.org/coronavirus.
Outstanding. So, guys, again, this is a very special episode. I know it's been a while since we've had a show, but now that we're set up and running, this is what we're going to start doing. We're going to start bringing in more information, talking to professionals, and at least putting a face to this so that we can start getting ahead of it and preparing our departments for what's to come. So, as always, I want to thank you guys for being a part of this effort, showing up and listening. And I want you to remember, you are your brothers and your sisters' keeper. So always keep your head on a swivel. God bless. Take care. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for listening to the show, guys. And if you want to look for more content out there from some great firefighters on some awesome podcasts, go check out some of my friends, starting with my good friend Steve Green from the 5-Alarm Task Force and my good buddy Rob Polick from Flow Invent, the Down to Fight Fire podcast out of British Columbia, Canada, SA Matters with Dr. Richard Gassaway, my good friend Ryan Pennington from West Virginia with Jump Seat Radio and that Jump Seat Radio Nation. Pin the Q, Code 3, Do Work, The Thin Red Line with my brother Captain John Haywick out of Passaic as well, The Fire Rescue Show, The Average Jake Firefighter, and of course, John Spira and the Fit to Fight Fire podcast. Go check these brothers out as they put great content out there, and they're going to appreciate your support. See you on the next one.
You just survived 30 minutes of online training with the Can Man Radio Show. Did you remember to train your probie today? The Can Man knows. He knows everything. When that 2 a.m. lift assist drops, the Can Man will be thinking of you in his dreams.